My name is Dr. Abdul El-Sayed. I am a physician, epidemiologist, and podcast host. And I'm grateful to have the opportunity to share some thoughts with you. I'm really grateful to DPN and Run for Something for hosting this incredible forum, an opportunity to talk about the responsibility and the role that states have in building the future we all deserve. I want to situate my comments today in the context of what has been a 17-month nightmare for this country. A pandemic that's taken 600,000 lives, taken millions more livelihoods. It's cut off our lifelines and our opportunities. And it demonstrated the failure of three systems in particular. The first is the healthcare system. When we look at what we saw, millions of people losing their health insurance in the middle of a pandemic, 47 hospitals going bankrupt because they had to battle COVID-19 and bankruptcy at the same time, while health insurance companies made billions in profits and spent that on spent $151 million of that on 845 lobbyists to secure the status quo. You recognize that the system has forgotten patients a long time ago. It's a lot more focused on corporate profit. It wasn't just healthcare though. It's the fact that our economy fundamentally decoupled from the well-being of people. Literally, we saw the stock market jump on news of massive unemployment, reminding us that capital and labor have not been further apart. We saw billionaires make trillions of dollars spending that to go to space rather than invested in what we need to do back home because we don't have the political will to force them to pay some of that back into a system that allowed them to grow that much wealth in the first place in the form of a wealth tax. We saw millions of people struggle. We saw the essential workers, another name for expendable, which is how we treated them, forced to choose between going to work and saving a livelihood or staying home and saving a life. And as we talked about what they deserved, instead of raising their minimum wage, we failed them on that front too. We still have a disastrously low $7.25 minimum wage in this country. It's not just that though. We're seeing violent crime go up, but that's a question of public safety. And public safety has to be a lot more than just how many people with guns do you have running around in cities. It has to be about how do you invest in the security that people need to know that they are well cared for. Every single time somebody loses their insurance, that is a security issue. That's a public safety issue. Every single time somebody loses their home, they become houseless, that is a public safety issue. Every single time somebody comes home without a paycheck that allows them to feed their family, that is a public safety issue. And this pandemic has reminded us that public safety is a lot bigger than simply policing. And as we think about the future, we have to recognize not just the circumstances that created this pandemic, not just a virus, but the precarity of an economy for so many people, the brokenness of a healthcare system focused more on profit than patients, our failure to secure people's lives in some profound ways, and then ask, how did this pandemic make them worse? And I believe that state government has a real responsibility in taking on each of these challenges, whether it's taking on the prescription drug inaffordability issue, whether it's reining in the power of major healthcare corporations to profiteer off of people, whether it's investing and taking on houselessness and making sure that a paycheck really does offer everything that somebody needs to feed and clothe and keep a roof over the head of their children. These are challenges that state government is responsible for. But here's the thing, the pandemic is not the be all and end all of our challenges right now. Climate change reminds us that the pandemic was just, frankly, a dress rehearsal. We are watching as historic flooding, historic wildfires, historic hurricanes continue to barrel down on us, heat waves killing hundreds of people at a time. And so what we have to do is recognize that the same circumstances, the precarious circumstances that led to this massive pandemic that left us fundamentally incapable of dealing with it, is going to bear down further on these systems. We have a responsibility to solve them, but we also have a responsibility to solve climate change itself. And so rethinking our economy around clean energy, around mitigating the consequences of climate change for people, that has to be the fundamental responsibility. And we cannot do any of that without a functioning democracy. Right now, this country is being challenged in a unique circumstance. We're watching and asking whether or not a pluralistic society and a democratic society can maintain its pluralism and its democracy through a demographic transition. And we have a responsibility to fight for voting rights, to fight for racial justice, to fight to uproot structural inequalities at the state and the local level. The work is tough, but I believe you're tougher. We have a set of challenges that we have to solve, and that we have to solve not just for the past, but for the future. But I know that if there is something that can solve it, it is the aspiration, the passion of young people focused on serving their communities, focused on building an equitable, a just America. We've got that opportunity. And I believe that in crisis, we may see the best of what we can offer rise up together collectively to build an America that is true to her ideals, a place where all people truly are created equal. But we'll only do it if we are committed to solving real problems for real people, if we're committed to addressing the obstacles that stand in our way, whether they be the political obstacles, the economic obstacles, or just a status quo that stubbornly sticks in our minds and clouds us from being able to imagine a world where we truly are solving the problems that too many people face. I am so grateful that folks like you are rising up, aspiring to take on that challenge. I hope that we get to cross paths. I hope that we get to walk this path together. I'm really grateful again to DPN and Run for Something for offering us this space today. And we're with you. Thank you.